For years, my birthday was too expensive to celebrate while my brother got parties with live bands. This year, I didn't complain. I just quietly flew first class to Tokyo. When I posted the view from my penthouse, they lost it. I, 32M, grew up believing that some people were just meant to fade into the background. My parents never said it outright, but their actions painted the picture clearly enough. Every year around November, our house would transform into a planning headquarters for my younger brother's birthday bash. The guest lists, the caterers, the decorations. My mother would spend weeks orchestrating these elaborate productions that cost more than most people's monthly salaries. My birthday fell in March, a month that apparently existed in some budgetary dead zone where celebrating my existence became a financial impossibility. The pattern started when I turned 8 and my brother turned 6. His party had a magician, a petting zoo, and enough cake to feed a small village. 2 months earlier, my mother had handed me $20 and suggested I pick out something nice for myself at the mall. She said they were saving money that year. I remember nodding, taking the cash, and feeling something inside me go quiet. That quietness never really left. By the time I was 16, my brother's parties had evolved into catered events with live bands. My birthdays involved a grocery store cake, if I was lucky, and a mumbled acknowledgement over dinner. When I asked about having friends over once, my father explained that my brother was more social, that he had more friends who expected these things, that I should understand how expensive everything was getting. I understood. I understood that I ranked somewhere below their second car on the priority list. College became my escape route. I worked 3 jobs, took out loans, and clawed my way through a business degree while my parents paid for my brother's fraternity dues and spring break trips. They called it investing in his future. He was studying finance, they said, and networking mattered in that field. I was just doing generic business courses, nothing special. After graduation, I moved across the country for work. The distance helped. I called on holidays, sent gifts, and maintained the appearance of a functional family relationship. My brother bounced between jobs, always landing on his feet thanks to Dad's connections. I ground through 80-hour weeks at a consulting firm, earning every promotion through sheer persistence. The money started coming in during my late 20s. Good money. The kind that changes your zip code and your definition of normal. I kept my lifestyle modest, invested aggressively, and watched my accounts grow. My family never asked about my work beyond surface-level pleasantries. They assumed I was doing fine, which meant I was doing well enough not to need their attention. Last year, my brother's 30th birthday party cost somewhere in the 6-figure range. They rented a yacht. There was a photographer, a videographer, and a string quartet. My mother called me a week before, asking if I could contribute $1,000 toward the bar tab. She said everyone in the family was pitching in. I sent the money. I always sent the money when they asked. My 32nd birthday passed 3 months later with a text message from my mother at 11 at night. She apologized for forgetting, said things had been hectic. My brother didn't reach out at all. Dad sent a generic message 2 days late. Something crystallized in that moment. Not anger exactly. Anger would have been hot and immediate. This was colder, more calculated. I realized I had spent 3 decades seeking validation from people who had decided long ago that I wasn't worth the effort. And I was done. I started planning in December. My 33rd birthday would fall on a Tuesday this year, right in the middle of the work week. Perfect. I requested the entire week off, booked a first-class ticket to Tokyo, and reserved a penthouse suite at the Park Hyatt. The same hotel from that movie everyone loves, with the views that make you feel like you're floating above the city. I didn't tell anyone. Not my parents, not my brother, not even my closest friends. This was mine. The flight left on Saturday morning. First class on a Trans-Pacific route turns out to be everything they say it is. The lie-flat seats, the actual china, the flight attendants who treat you like a person instead of cargo. I could get used to this. I spent 13 hours reading, sleeping, and watching Tokyo grow larger through the window. The penthouse took my breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Shinjuku, a separate living area, a bathroom bigger than my first apartment. I stood at the window that first night, watching the city lights blur together, and felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Peace. I spent my birthday exploring the city alone. Tsukiji Fish Market at dawn, temples in Asakusa, shopping in Harajuku. I ate omakase at a tiny sushi counter where the chef had 3 Michelin stars and served fish that tasted like the ocean had just invented flavor. That dinner cost more than my childhood birthday budgets combined. The sunset from my room that evening painted the sky in shades of orange and purple that didn't look real. I took a photo. Just the view, no selfie, nothing to indicate where I was specifically. The city stretched out below like a carpet of lights and possibility. I added a simple caption, 33 never looked better. Grateful for this life I've built. I posted it to Instagram and promptly forgot about it. I was too busy planning the next day's adventure to care about social media engagement. My phone started buzzing around midnight Tokyo time, morning back home. I ignored it initially, but the notifications kept coming. Messages, comments, missed calls. I finally checked around breakfast the next morning. My mother had called 6 times. My brother had sent a string of increasingly aggressive texts asking where I was. My father left a voicemail demanding to know what I was doing in Japan and why nobody knew about this trip. The Instagram post had apparently made its way through the family network. My aunt had commented asking if I was in Tokyo. Several cousins chimed in with jealousy and excitement. And then my mother commented, "We need to talk about this. Call me immediately." I didn't call. I silenced my phone and went to the Team Lab Borderless Museum, where I spent 4 hours wandering through digital waterfalls and rooms full of projected flowers. Art that existed only through technology, beautiful and impermanent. When I finally checked my messages that evening, things had escalated. My mother had sent a long text explaining how hurt she was that I hadn't told them about this trip, how family should share these moments, how I was being selfish by excluding them. My brother sent a message asking how I could afford this, implying I must have gotten lucky with crypto or something equally dismissive of my actual career. My father's message was shorter and more direct. He said I was being immature, that this little stunt was clearly meant to make them feel bad, and that I needed to grow up and stop holding grudges about childhood nonsense. Childhood nonsense. 25 years of being an afterthought, summarized in 2 words. I crafted my response carefully. I told them I was on vacation celebrating my birthday, something I'd planned and saved for myself. I said I didn't announce it because I didn't think anyone would be particularly interested. After all, my birthday had never seemed to matter much before. I kept it polite, factual, and completely devoid of the emotion churning underneath. The response was immediate and explosive. My mother called me ungrateful. She brought up every single thing they'd ever done for me, as if basic parenting required eternal debt. She said I was throwing their love back in their faces, that I was being cruel and manipulative. My brother jumped in to defend them, saying I was clearly bitter about not being the favorite and that I needed therapy. That last part almost made me laugh. I'd been in therapy for 3 years. My therapist was the one who'd helped me recognize the pattern, the one who'd encouraged me to stop seeking approval from people who'd never planned to give it. My father tried a different approach. He called it disappointing that I'd become so materialistic, that I was flaunting wealth instead of sharing it with family. He suggested that if I had money for luxury vacations, I should be helping my brother get established in his career. Apparently, my brother's latest venture had fallen through, and he needed some financial support. There it was. The real issue. Not that I'd gone to Tokyo, but that I'd spent money on myself instead of making it available to them. I put my phone on airplane mode and went to the top of Tokyo Skytree. At 450 meters up, the city looked like a circuit board, all neat lines and glowing connections. I thought about all those birthdays, all those moments of being overlooked, and realized something important. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. Update 1. I came back from Tokyo on Sunday, refreshed and genuinely happy for the first time in months. I'd spent the rest of the week exploring Kyoto, soaking in onsen, and eating my way through izakayas that didn't appear in any guidebook. I turned off my phone completely after that second day and lived like someone who didn't owe anyone an explanation for existing. Monday morning, I landed back in Seattle and turned my phone on during the drive home from the airport. 63 missed calls. Over 100 text messages. My voicemail was full. I scrolled through while sitting in traffic. My mother had apparently organized a family intervention of sorts. She'd called my aunts, uncles, and cousins, explaining how I'd become selfish and materialistic, how I'd abandoned family values for Instagram clout. Several relatives had sent concerned messages asking if I was okay, if something had happened to make me act out like this. My brother had taken a different route. He'd posted on Facebook about how some people forget where they came from, complete with a thinly veiled reference to siblings who prioritize possessions over people. The comments section had turned into a referendum on my character from people who barely knew me. The most interesting message came from my father. He'd sent it at 2 in the morning his time, probably after a few drinks. He said he'd always known I resented them, that I'd been a difficult child who never appreciated what he and Mom sacrificed. He brought up the college loans they'd co-signed, conveniently forgetting I'd paid every cent of those loans myself, on time, while they defaulted on my brothers and had to use their retirement fund to clear the debt. I sat in my apartment, surrounded by the quiet I'd carefully built for myself, and made a decision. I scheduled a group video call for that Wednesday evening. Everyone could attend or not, their choice. I sent the link to my parents, my brother, and the aunt who'd originally stirred things up by commenting on my Instagram post. I didn't explain what the call was about. Just said I wanted to address everything at once instead of having the same conversation repeatedly. Wednesday came. I set up my laptop in my home office, the one with the built-in shelves displaying the awards I'd won at work, the degrees I'd earned, the life I'd built alone. Everyone joined the call within 5 minutes. They were clearly expecting an apology. My mother spoke first, launching into a prepared speech about family bonds and mutual respect. I let her finish. My father added something about maturity and perspective. My brother stayed quiet, probably coaching from Dad on strategy. When they were done, I took a breath and began. I told them I wanted to share some numbers. I'd prepared a spreadsheet, old habits from consulting, and I shared my screen. Column 1 listed every birthday from age 8 to 32. Column 2 showed what had been spent on my brother's birthday parties those same years. Column 3 showed what had been spent on mine. The disparity was staggering when laid out visually. $47,000 total for my brother across those years. $340 for me. And that was being generous with my estimates, rounding up on my end. My mother started to interrupt. I kept talking. I added another sheet. This one showed every time they'd asked me for money over the past decade. The contribution to my brother's birthday yacht party. The loan for his failed business venture. The money for their roof repair. The Christmas gifts I'd bought for extended family at their request because they were short that year. The total came to just under $30,000. I showed a third sheet. Every family event I'd flown home for, every gift I'd sent, every time I'd rearranged my work schedule to accommodate their needs. I'd quantified my effort to maintain a relationship they'd never prioritized from their end. The silence on the call was absolute. I explained that I wasn't angry. I told them that anger required emotional investment, and I'd finally realized I needed to stop investing in a relationship that had never generated returns. I said the Tokyo trip wasn't a statement or a stunt. It was me choosing to celebrate myself since nobody else had bothered to make that a priority for 3 decades. My brother found his voice then. He said I was being dramatic, that every family has differences, that I was taking normal sibling dynamics and turning them into some kind of trauma narrative. I asked him to name 3 things about my life. Anything. Where I worked, what my job title was, what I did for hobbies. He couldn't. He genuinely had no idea who I was beyond the role I played as the family ATM. My father tried to redirect. He said this wasn't about money, that families weren't transactional. I agreed with him. I said families were supposed to be about love and support and showing up for each other. I asked him when he'd last shown up for me in any meaningful way. I waited. He didn't have an answer. My mother cried. She said I was rewriting history, that they'd always loved me equally, that I was choosing to focus on negative things instead of remembering all the good times. I asked her to tell me about one of those good times from my childhood. Something specific to me, not a generic family vacation or holiday. She couldn't do it. I told them I wasn't cutting them off. I wasn't looking for apologies or trying to punish anyone. I was simply establishing boundaries that should have existed years ago. From now on, I wouldn't be available for loans or financial bailouts. I wouldn't be attending events purely out of obligation. I wouldn't be maintaining a relationship where all the effort flowed one direction. If they wanted to build something real, I was open to that. But it would have to be mutual, intentional, and honest. Otherwise, I wished them well and would keep things cordial but distant. My brother called me cold. My father said I was burning bridges. My mother said I'd regret this. I ended the call feeling lighter than I had in years. Update 2. 3 months have passed since that video call. The immediate aftermath was predictably messy. My mother sent a series of emails ranging from apologetic to accusatory, sometimes within the same message. My father went silent entirely, which was somehow worse than the confrontation. My brother posted another vague Facebook rant about toxic people disguised as family, then unfriended me. The extended family split into factions. A few cousins reached out privately to say they'd experienced similar dynamics with their own parents, that seeing me establish boundaries had inspired them to examine their own relationships. My aunt, the one who'd commented on the Tokyo post initially, sent a long message apologizing for stirring things up and admitting she'd always noticed the favoritism but never said anything because it wasn't her place. Two of my uncles stopped speaking to me. They bought into my mother's narrative that I'd become arrogant and materialistic. I didn't fight it. People believe what they want to believe. The surprising support came from my father's older sister, a woman I'd barely spoken to over the years. She called me one evening and told me a story I'd never heard. Apparently, I wasn't the first overlooked child in our family. My father had been the golden child in his own family, and his older brother had experienced a similar dynamic. That brother eventually moved to Australia, and they barely spoke now. She said watching me finally stand up reminded her of watching her other nephew give up and disappear. She asked if I was really okay. Not the performative "are you okay" that people ask when they're fishing for gossip, but genuine concern about whether I was handling this emotionally. I told her the truth. I was better than I'd been in years. The weight of constantly trying to earn love I was never going to receive had been crushing me without my realizing it. Letting that go felt like breathing properly for the first time. Work became my refuge. I took on a major project that required travel to Singapore, then Dubai. I collected cities and experiences like some people collect stamps. I ate street food in hawker centers and drank cocktails in rooftop bars that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. I did it all solo, learning to enjoy my own company without the noise of other people's expectations. My birthday came around again last month, 33 to 34. I was in Barcelona when the day arrived, wandering through gaudy architecture and eating patatas bravas at a place a local had recommended. My phone stayed mostly quiet. A few friends sent messages. My therapist sent a thoughtful text. The family chat stayed silent until my mother sent a brief, "Happy birthday," at 11:47 p.m. my time, probably the moment she remembered in her own time zone. I didn't expect anything else. That's the thing about finally accepting reality. It stops surprising you. But something unexpected did happen. My brother called. Not texted, actually called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. He was in his car. I could hear traffic in the background. He said he'd been thinking about that spreadsheet I'd shown, about the numbers. His latest business venture had failed again, and Dad had told him there was no more money for bailouts. He'd gone to apply for a loan and been rejected. Sitting in the bank parking lot, he'd apparently had some kind of revelation about the difference between being supported and being enabled. He didn't apologize exactly. That wasn't his style. But he said he understood now why I'd left, that he'd always thought the favoritism was in his head until he became the one who didn't meet expectations. He asked if I'd be willing to grab coffee next time I was in town. I told him maybe. Not yes, not no. Maybe. I didn't owe him immediate forgiveness, but I wasn't interested in permanent estrangement either. If he wanted to build something real, he could put in the work. That's how relationships were supposed to function. My mother sent an email 2 weeks ago, not on my birthday, which would have been performative, just a random Tuesday. She said she'd been seeing a therapist, her words, not mine suggesting it, and some things had come up in their sessions about parenting and favoritism. She said she wanted to talk, really talk, when I was ready. No pressure, no timeline. I haven't responded yet. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. That's the other thing about boundaries. You get to decide when and how you engage, if at all. Last weekend, I bought myself a birthday present, a month late because I could. A nice watch, the kind that costs enough to be meaningful but not so much that it's ostentatious. Every time I check the time, I'm reminded that I'm the one who decides my worth now. Not them, not anyone else. Me. I'm planning another trip for next month. Vietnam this time, maybe Cambodia after. I've discovered I like being the person who sends postcards from places other people only dream about visiting. Not to show off, but because I genuinely enjoy the exploration, the solitude, the freedom of waking up in a new city and deciding my day based solely on what I want to experience. Someone at work asked me recently if I ever felt lonely doing all this solo travel. I thought about it. Loneliness is sitting in a room full of family and feeling invisible. What I have now is solitude, and solitude is a choice. It's peaceful. It's mine. I don't know how this story ends. Maybe my family and I find our way to something healthier. Maybe we drift into polite distance. Maybe something in between. But here's what I do know. I'm no longer willing to shrink myself to fit into spaces that weren't designed for me. I'm no longer performing gratitude for scraps of attention. I'm 34 now, and for the first time in my life, that feels like something worth celebrating. Not because of where I've been or what I've overcome, but because of who I'm becoming. Someone who knows his value. Someone who doesn't apologize for taking up space. Someone who books first-class tickets to Tokyo and doesn't feel the need to explain himself to anyone. That's not revenge. That's liberation. And it turns out, liberation looks pretty damn good from a penthouse view. If you like this story, please like this video and subscribe us for more such real-life-based stories. Thanks in advance.